good evening, depending on where you are. We are going to go ahead and kick it off in child's pose today. So come to your mat, bring your knees down to the mat and untuck your toes. Choose a distance for your knees, either spread a little bit wide or you can have them close together, yogi's choice really. And untuck the toes and then bring your forehead to the mat and your hips towards your heels. Arms can be reaching long in front of you with the palms facing down, or back by your side with the palms facing up. If you have to choose between your forehead to the mat and your hips on your heels, always choose your forehead to the mat. As you start to breathe to arrive here in your practice, you'll feel your hips may slowly start to melt just a little bit closer to the earth. But for now, just close the eyes and turn your attention inward. Feel the back rise and fall as you breathe. Start to bring your attention to the breath. Inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your nose, we will start to cultivate the Ujjayi Pranayama, the oceanic or victorious breath. And all that really is keeping your mouth closed, inhaling through the nose, feeling the air rustle down the back of your throat, filling up all the way. Then as you exhale with control, push the air up and out the back of the throat, creating a sort of rustling like sound, maybe even a wave-like quality to the breath. And stick with this breath throughout class, these inhales and exhales through the nose in order to build heat in the body. And we will build some heat as we focus on the core today. If you ever feel your breath is choppy or held, you can come back to this spot. You can open up your mouth and push the air out that way to release some heat. Whatever you need for your practice, please do. And as we start to focus on the core today, you can set an intention to activate. To activate is to turn something on, to make things maybe even reactive. To activate with the core, we will think about using the breath, connecting that breath with movements in order to fully feel what we're working on. If your hands aren't already out in front of you, you can crawl them there now. Gently come up to a tabletop position. Stack your shoulders over your elbows, over your wrists, and spread your fingers as wide as you can. Really pushing the tips of the fingers, including the thumb, down into the mat. Untuck the toes, knees or hips width distance apart. Stack your hips right over your knees, and your feet reach towards the back. Then, once you have this tabletop, suck the belly button into the spine. Find a neutral spine to start. As we start to activate in this tabletop, you can turn the insides of your elbows towards the front of the mat, maybe wrapping those biceps forward a little bit and the triceps back around the arm and down. And everyone will have different mobility in those arms, but feel how you can move those forearms, those biceps around in this tabletop. Then focusing on the core, we pull the belly button in towards the spine, reach the tailbone back, the crown of the head forward, pull those shoulders away from the ears. Keep the gaze right down on the mat in front of the fingertips. We don't want to arch anything yet. Take a few breaths here, in through the nose, out through the nose. Feel your body starting to activate as you just hold the breath. And then as you exhale out again. We start to move through a few cat-cows. On the inhale, drop the belly, arch the back, look up. Let the belly button fall towards the mat, the tailbone scoop up towards the ceiling. Cow pose, and then we start to shift to cat pose. Tuck the chin towards the chest, round the spine, reach the middle of your back up towards the top ceiling, and then tuck the tailbone down towards the mat. Start to move through those a little more smoothly, inhaling for cow pose, dropping the belly, looking up, exhaling for cat. Starting to warm up the muscles on the front, side, and back of the body, all of those muscles that constitute the core that support your spine. Think about all of these muscles that we're warming up as the armor, as the protection for your spine as you move it up and down and maybe even around in this cat-cow. Last one here. And then after this cat, you come back to a neutral position, tabletop. On the inhale, reach the right leg back, step the toes to the mat, and then just start to stretch the back of the leg. So right foot reaches all the way back, toes are down on the mat or the floor, and you're shifting the weight forward and back, sort of rolling on the ball of that foot, feeling it in your calf, maybe your hamstring. Even a nice little warm up for the bottom of your foot. One more breath in. And then exhale, we stop moving, shoulders over our wrists, and pick that right leg up, square the hip down to the mat, flex the right foot, and imagine you were stomping it on a wall behind you. The heel is no higher than your right butt cheek. So it's just sticking straight out towards the back. And if your belly button drops, try to pull it back in, find that neutral spine. We're super active through the leg. We're pulling that right hip bone down in line with the left, squaring it to the mat, keeping the foot flexed. Breathing here. Option to reach the left hand forward. Gaze is on the mat if the left hand is forward. Try to make your top spine, your neck neutral. Inhale here. Exhale to stay. Take a few more breaths. Spinal balancing. Remember to activate, connect that breathing with the body parts that you're focused on. Flex that foot, reach those fingertips forward. Suck the belly in towards the spine. And then exhale, drop everything back down to the mat. You can shake your right hand out if you like. On the inhale, left leg reaches back, same thing, other side. Get the ball of the foot, the toes on the mat for now. Start to shift the weight forward and back, breathing as you slowly roll on the ball of that foot. Just an inch or two forward and an inch or two back. Then on the inhale, shoulders stack back over wrists. Lift that left leg up. Kick it towards the back of the mat. Straighten the leg if you can. Flex the foot a lot. Toes point down towards the ground. As you point the toes down, you might feel that left hip square back to the mat. That's what we want. Reach that left leg back like you could stomp it on a wall behind you. And then again, if your back is arching a little bit, pull the belly button in, find that neutral spine. Option to reach the right hand forward. Your bicep, the inside of your arm, is kind of by your ear, but not touching. That's the height we want. Gaze is down on the mat, maybe looking at those left fingertips that are right in front of them. Inhale here. Exhale to hold. Inhale to reach. Exhale, we drop everything back down. Sit back on your heels just for a minute. Shake those hands out a little bit. There you go. Twist the wrists one way and then the other. Circle the fingertips. Beautiful. And then we come on back to that tabletop. We're going to go to a plank pose. Option always for supported plank, but if you're going to plank with me, reach the left leg back and then the right, pick the knees up off the mat. You can always bring the knees down if you need a little more support. Important for both poses, shoulders stack over elbows, stack over wrists, spread the fingers wide, broaden across the collarbones. So it's almost like a tiny squeeze, an activation in the shoulder blades, bringing them a little closer together. opening the chest, reaching the heels back, but they're also rolled over the balls of the feet. Inhale here. Exhale, everyone lift your hips, downward facing dog. You can take your dog for a walk to start, play around, find movement. Bend the left knee, bend the right. Keep reaching those hips up and back. The hands stay in the same place they were for plank. Shoulders width apart, fingers spread wide. Feet or hips width distance apart. Let's start to clean this up. Toes point forward, heels reach down to the mat. Give a big bend in your knees if you like, and keep reaching those hips up towards the ceiling. We don't want to overextend. Think about activating through the arms, keeping the ears right between the biceps. So your head is floating between the biceps. You're lifting that tailbone up towards the ceiling. Legs can be straight or bent, yogi's choice. First down dog of the day, sometimes you gotta warm it up. Inhale, come to your tippy toes. Exhale, roll forward into plank. Everyone lower your knees to the mat. Keeping the insides of the elbows facing forward, slowly start to drop your knees, your chest and your chin to the mat. Elbows reach back, knees, chest, and chin to the mat, and then untuck the toes, drop the hips down. We come up to baby cobra. Tops of feet stay on the mat. Heart gently lifts forward. Squeeze the elbows in by your side. Squeeze your shoulder blades together and down the back. Pull the tops of the shoulders away from the ears. Press the tops of the feet into the mat. Inhale here. Working that core with every step of the way. Exhale, gently lower the knees to the mat. Tuck the toes through bent knees. Press yourself up. And then come back up into that downward facing dog. Lift the hips up towards the ceiling. You're in that upside down V. On the inhale, lift the heels, look forward. Tiptoe your feet really slowly to meet your hands at the front of the mat. And then you can bend your knees a lot. Get your feet hips width distance if you need to measure. That's like 2 fists in between your big toes. Bend your knees and then grab for opposite elbows. Forward fold at the front of the mat, letting the head hang heavy. Active through the legs, you're pressing all points of your foot into the mat. It's almost like a little bit of a squeeze towards the center with the knees, but they don't actually go anywhere. We're just activating through those legs. Press the feet into the mat, keep lifting the hips. Let that head hang super heavy. Let gravity help you release the spine. And then on the inhale, half lift. Hands come to the tops of your quads, your legs. Squeeze the elbows in by your side. And then your back is flat. So this is just as much of a core activation as anything else. To remind yourself to activate, squeeze those elbows in by your side. Hands just rest gently on the tops of the legs. Crown of the head reaches forward. And that tailbone is reaching all the way back. One more breath in here through this half lift. Powerful. Exhale, forward fold all the way back down. Gently roll to stand. As slowly as you can, start to roll up, stacking vertebrae upon vertebrae. Your head is going to be the last thing to come up. We slowly come to mountain pose, Tadasana. Toes point forward, feet or hips width distance. Tuck that tailbone under. If you have to use your hands to tuck the tailbone so that you can actually feel it, you can do that. We want that neutral pelvis. Suck the belly in towards the spine. Roll the shoulders up, back, and down. Strong mountain pose here. Supporting yourself all the way from the heels, the tips of the toes, out the crown of the head. Imagine you were growing as tall as a tree. With every inhale, you find a little bit of lift. With every exhale, you root down. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up overhead. Look up, press your palms together. Exhale, gently start to bring your hands to your heart. Beautiful. Inhale, drop the arms, circle them up. Once again, press palms overhead. Exhale, we fold all the way down. Bend the knees slightly. Bring your head all the way down to a forward fold. On the inhale, we half lift. Crown of the head reaches forward, flat back. Exhale to fold. Let's do that one more time using one breath per movement. On the inhale, bend the knees slightly, gently lift all the way up. Press palms overhead. Exhale, hands come down to your heart. Inhale, drop the arms, circle, reach them up, up, up. Press palms. Exhale, forward fold all the way down. Beautiful. Inhale to half lift, crown of the head reaches forward. Exhale, this time bend the knees, plant the hands down to the mat, and step the feet back one by one to a high plank pose. Of course, you can always bring your knees to the mat if you need it. Now, another option for the flow that we did earlier, knees, chest, and chin to baby cobra. That's your first option. Second option, inhale from plank, press away from the mat. Exhale, chaturanga, half push up down. Squeeze the elbows in by your side, resist gravity. Inhale, untuck the toes, drop the hips, and then press into the hands, upward facing dog. Tops of the feet press into the mat. Hips are dropping down but not touching. You're pressing into your hands actively. Chest reaches through. Squeeze the shoulder blades together and down the back. And then gently start to bring your hips up. Untuck your toes. Come back to a downward facing dog. Beautiful. 2 options for your flow today. Your vinyasa flow, as we call it. Mixing and matching is also acceptable. Doing whatever feels good for your body. Beautiful. On the inhale, look forward. Exhale, gently bring the knees down to the mat. Tabletop position. Nice. On the inhale, swing that right leg out to the side. Leave the knee. And then we're going to lift that left knee up. Step the foot towards the back. We're in a supported side plank. So let's stack everything right to start. Shoulders stacked over elbows, stacked over wrists. And then your right hip is right on top of your right knee. Your left hip is pulling up and opening, trying to stack that left almost directly on top of the right. And then there's one long line of energy from the crown of your head out towards your left foot. That left foot is pressing into the mat. You may feel your arch lift up a little bit as you press. That's cool. Keep pulling that left hip up and rolling it back, almost like you could squeeze your left butt cheek in and forward, right? Activate all the way. And then if you want, left hand reaches overhead. You almost look like a half rainbow from your heel to the tips of your fingers. Continue to activate. So press that right hand actively in the mat. Don't let your head fall down. We're breathing into this side plank. Inhale. Exhale to stay. 3 more breaths here. Option to lift the left foot up. It's coming straight out from the hip. Flex the foot a lot. Keep the hand reaching forward. And then squeeze your left butt cheek a little bit. Beautiful. That left foot is no higher than the hip. 1 more breath in here. Exhale, gently come on back to tabletop position. We do the same thing on the other side. Left leg swings out to the side. Right foot steps all the way to the back of the mat. Foot comes to the mat. Right hand reaches up. Now, you can put your hand on your right hip to remind yourself to pull that right hip up and then back and down, squeezing that right butt cheek in, almost like you're pushing both hips forward a little bit. Keeping the core active. Imagine you're a plank, you're a board, and all the back sides of your body is touching a wall behind you. Keep pressing into the right foot. Your arch lifts up a little bit. Crown of the head is active. Right hand is reaching forward. Fingertips point forward. Beautiful. Inhale here. Exhale to stay. 3 more breaths here. Option to lift that right foot up and balance on the left hand and left knee. That right foot is stomping against an imaginary wall behind you. Flex the foot a lot. Activate. Using your whole core to hold this up. 1 more breath. Exhale, gently release everything down to the mat. Beautiful. You're in a tabletop. You can just drop it back to child's pose. Hips reach towards the back. Arms reach forward. Bring your forehead to the mat and your hips towards your heels. Take a breath or 2 here. Recenter yourself so that you can reactivate again once this is through. Few more breaths here in child's pose. Beautiful. Then you can gently roll. Swing your legs out to either side. We're coming to a seat. Sticking with our core, and thinking about activating all the parts of our body that help to support our spine. We're going to do a staff pose, Dandasana. So you can bring blocks to your side if you have them. If you like, you can just bring your fingertips down to the mat right behind your hips. Get those feet hips width distance apart. Reach them out forward. Shake them out. And then press those heels into the mat. So your legs and your feet are hips width distance apart. They're not wider. Your heels aren't touching. Hips width distance apart. And then you're straightening those legs, pressing the heel into the mat, flexing the foot. Your toes are either pointing up or you're working to get your toes pointing back at you. Feel your sits bones rooted down into the mat as well. Legs are fully working. You may not be able to see it, but you will feel it. And then for staff pose, Dandasana, Danda in Sanskrit, meaning staff or stick, think about that as your spine in this pose, right? One long, tall spine, tailbone is reaching down, crown of the head is reaching all the way up, fingertips are on the mat by your side supporting it, and think about almost like puffing your chest out a little bit. So if you want to do that physically with your hands, you can put your fingertips in the middle of your chest, your thumbs in your armpits, and just pull it apart, pull your chest apart, pull up your heart forward. Keep sucking the belly button into the spine though. Beautiful. Hands come back to your side. Take 3 breaths here. And then gently start to crawl the fingertips forward. Hands can come to the tops of your quads, to your shins, reach for your ankles or your feet. And we're slowly going to start to fold forward, but keep the lift in that chest while you start to fold. Feel your crown of your head pulling forward, finding length in the spine. And then on the exhale, you can start to round the back and start to drop the nose towards the knees. On the inhale, you look forward, maybe pull yourself forward a little more. On the exhale, you round. Inhale to lengthen, exhale to fold. Inhale to lengthen, exhale to soften. All of these different things can be activations, lengthening, softening, reaching, growing. So find whatever works for your practice and think about connecting whatever that is with the breath. Slowly start to roll back up. Keeping those sits bones on the mat, bend the knees, bring the sits bones to the middle of the mat, get them rooted down. You can pull all that good stuff out from under your bum. We're moving to a boat pose. Now, lots of options here for this boat. So to start, knees and feet or hips width distance apart. You can lift the heels off the mat, keep the toes on the mat. Hands can stay on the shins. Slowly start to let yourself reach back. Now, once you feel your back start to round, that's where I want you to stop. I want you to find the same length in that spine that you had in staff pose. You're leaning back. You can feel the core, your abs start to activate as you lean back. If you're comfortable with this, release the arms, reach them forward. Keep breathing here. You should feel yourself working right now. If you don't, lean back a little more. Option to lift the legs. Bring the toes together in a 90 degrees in the knees. If you're doing that, keep reaching your chest forward. Remember that feeling in Dandasana, like you could pull your chest apart, lift it up. Imagine you could put your chest on top of your knees. Stay here and breathe. Option to even straighten the legs if you want. Boat Navasana. Keep lifting. Everything is light. Everything is working. Palms face up. 3 more breaths here. Don't lose the length in that spine. Don't let it round. You've got this. Last breath in. Exhale, gently bring the hands under the knees. Drop the feet back down to the mat. You can slowly lower yourself down onto the mat with or without holding onto your legs. Keep those knees bent. Beautiful. Pull the heels in towards your glutes, keeping the feet hips width distance apart. Hands come down to your mat beside your hips. We've got one bridge pose here. So imagine the boat that you just floated will have to go under your back. On the inhale, you're going to press the hands into the mat, squeeze the hips up towards the ceiling, keep pressing the feet into the mat. Start to walk your shoulder blades together under your back. If it's available to you, you can interlace your fingers. Keep pressing the feet down into the mat. So instead of just using your glutes to squeeze your hips up, also activate through all points of the feet. You may feel your chest press a little closer to your chin. Don't look left or right. Keep pressing the crown of the head into the mat. There should be a tiny little passageway for air between your the back of your head, the crown of your head, and your upper back. So right where your upper spine and neck is, there's a little bit of space between that and the mat. Everything else is pressing down into the mat. Backs of the hands, backs of the shoulders, feet. Keep lifting those hips. One more breath in. Squeeze that bridge up. And then exhale slowly with control. Start to lower your hips back down to the mat. Beautiful. On the inhale, just bring your knees into your chest. Give them a squeeze. Roll back and forth to the left and the right on the mat. Massaging that lower back. Your lower spine is rounded now. Your tailbone is scooping up towards the ceiling. Beautiful work. And then let your hands cactus out. You can drop your knees over to the left. Bring your gaze to the right for reclining supine twist. Try to keep that right shoulder down on the mat, even if it means your knees aren't touching on the other side. And keep trying to breathe as deeply as you can using that Ujjayi Pranayama, the oceanic breath, inhaling through the nose, filling all the way up, even to the parts that might feel a little sticky when you breathe in because you're in a twist. That's cool, send air there anyway. Gently bring the knees back to center. Drop them over to the other side. Bring your gaze to the left, your knees to the right. Keeping the left shoulder down on the mat. Gently bring the knees back to center. Lift your feet off the mat. Bring the soles of your feet together and either grab for your shins, your ankles, or the outsides of your feet. Butterfly pose. Keeping the lower back on the mat. Your knees reach away from you. Your feet press into one another. Give a strap or a dish towel. You can also use that to help you get a hold of your feet or your ankles. Pulling the feet in towards you as you push the knees away. Nice opening of the hips. Take a few breaths here. Gently release that. Bring your knees to touch. Bring your forehead to your knees. Squeeze yourself into the tightest little ball that you could possibly squeeze into today. And then on the exhale, release everything down to the mat for corpse pose, Shavasana. So you reach out long in front of you, toes fall open to the sides of the mat, palms face up, close the eyes. Let the body start to breathe itself. Release your tongue from the roof of your mouth, unclench the jaw. Wiggle your eyebrows and let body melts into mat. And stay in Shavasana for as long as you like. If you're ready to be walked out, gently bring one knee in towards the chest and then the other, keeping the eyes closed. Inhale, reach the arms up overhead, and then gently roll to either side, fetal position, resting your bottom ear on your bottom bicep. Bring your hands to the mat. Gently push yourself up to a seat. Any seat will do. You can sit on a block, the ground, legs crossed or uncrossed. Doesn't matter. Just going to take 3 breaths together to end the class. So find that same staff pose in the spine, the upper body, as you did when we were in Dandasana. Palms face up on the tops of the legs. Roll the shoulders back and down, squeeze the shoulder blades. We take 3 breaths together to end the class. Exhale all of your air out. Through the nose, inhale, deep breath in. Hold it at the top, sip a little more. Through the nose with control, exhale. Inhale through the nose, fill up. Sip a little more at the top. Open the mouth, exhale, HA. Blink the eyes open. Inhale, reach the arms up overhead, press palm. Exhale, hands come down to your heart.